All right, thanks, guys. Alongside Matt Bumbaca, I'm Jack Taylor, and we're here today to talk about your fantasy lineup. Even though, week one's already started with the Patriots-Chiefs games last night, there's still a couple things that are going on that you might need to tweak your lineup for, like the delay of the Buccaneers-Dolphins game. That's got a couple players that I have in my starting lineup, at least I know.
Of course, wide receiver 1, Mike Evans, quarterback, Jameis Winston.
You got Jarvis Landry, Jay Ajayi.
Possibly you have Devontae Parker in your flex. You got to take him out. He's not playing.
Exactly, yeah. So, in order to combat that, we've got a couple players and a couple mismatches, I think, that you could, combat that. This one's kind of obvious, obviously, but, he's going to be pissed off of his, not getting a good contract. But Le'Veon Bell is going up against the Browns this week. I think, he's going to get a lot of points this week, going up against a, team that's barely a team that doesn't have Myles Garrett for week one. He's coming off a high ankle sprain.
Yep.
They cut Joe Hayden, they cut Calvin Pryor. So, their defense is looking slim. I just think that that's going to be.
The Browns are the Browns. And Pittsburgh Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell is one of the best in the league. And, year in and year out, he's a top 3 fantasy running back. He's going to do great in PPR, catching the ball out of the backfield. Expect him to put up almost Kareem Hunt-like numbers.
Unfortunately, you cannot start him, Kareem Hunt, if you didn't already, because he, in any league I've seen so far, he's put up at least 40-plus points last night, having, the most yards from scrimmage for any rookie debut. He just... I was playing against the team that I was playing against had him starting, and his first play was a fumble. I was so happy. I thought it was going to be good, and then just progressed through the night. It got worse and worse. So in order to, there's some other running backs you could start. Look for, obviously DeMarco Murray to have a big week. I think, I say that, but the Raiders' front seven is,
one of the best in the league.
Of course. So
one of the best defenses.
Honestly, actually, let me retract that, but let's stick on that game, because I think that game's going to be a shootout.
For sure.
Anyway.
I look at both wide receivers, Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree, to have big games this week. Derek Carr is going to be slinging the ball around the field. Young cornerbacks for the Tennessee Titans, Adoree Jackson and such. And
Logan Ryan just coming into his first game on the team.
having new cornerbacks, just nice matchups on the outside. Really think that both of them are going to have big week ones.
I still think, though, that the Titans do have a chance, because I think that they have a new with the additions of Eric Decker and Corey Davis,
rookie wide receiver out of Western Michigan.
Of course, the veteran Delanie Walker. I think even though both quarterbacks are coming off of late season injuries, almost the same injury, I think. Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr, I think both have the abilities to put up big games, because
they'll both be back.
The Raiders defense, their only major hole, not even, I guess their hole is their cornerbacks, and I think that this will be a shootout type game, and that it'll be big points for both quarterbacks. Other type of games that would be really good, you got you have the Cowboys and the Giants.
Sunday Night Football.
And with Odell Beckham being questionable, I'd say look for Brandon Marshall to obviously get the majority of the touches.
Brandon Marshall have a big game, and a possible flex play. Sterling Shepard.
Of course. I say, obviously, if you were one of those guys or girls that drafted Zeke because you knew he was going to play this week.
You have to play him week one.
You got to play him week one. You expect him to have a big game. Yep. And then I'd have Darren McFadden, though, just to pick up the slack, or some other running back to pick up while he's gone. Personally, I wouldn't. I think that Dak Prescott without Zeke Elliott is going to have a sophomore slump per se. I don't think that he's going to be able to hold the slack to pull the weight by himself. So I don't think that he's going to do as well. But
now, Jack, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Dez Bryant against Janoris Jenkins Sunday night. Janoris Jenkins has shut down Dez Bryant.
That's an interesting matchup right there. I like it.
The past year. Is it possible Dez is a no-show on Sunday night?
It's a huge possibility. They're going to look to squeeze every drop out of Zeke that they can get for this week. They need to the Cowboys took 2 of their 3 losses last year to the Giants. This is a game that they have circled on their schedule. It's not that they wouldn't already, but I think that this is going to be a big game for Zeke. Not so much because the Giants have better defensive backs than they do a front seven.
NYPD.
They really do.
New York pass defense, one of the best. So I think that in the league.
So I think that when it comes to the passing game, I think that it's not going to do as well for the Cowboys.
No, Janoris Jenkins is one of the best cover corners in the league, and that's why I don't expect Dez to have a huge game. And I'm going to piggyback off that, going up to Minnesota.
Okay.
I think Xavier Rhodes also shuts down New Orleans Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas. So I think Drew Brees is naturally going to have a big game.
Of course.
Up in Minnesota's also a dome. People forget that. So he can do some damage, but I expect Xavier Rhodes to shadow Michael Thomas and probably limit him.
All right, now off of that,
to a normal week.
Yeah. I know. Off of that, you got two sets of running back duos that are looking to prove themselves and see who is going to be the biggest running back. You got Mark Ingram and Adrian Peterson. Now, obviously, I would think Adrian Peterson gets a starting battle there, and then you have Dalvin Cook and Latavius Murray. Who do you think? Out of that, who do you think is going to get the advantage there?
I think Dalvin Cook is the guy in Minnesota. He's already listed as the Week 1 starter.
Okay.
So I mean, for somebody to put a rookie at the number 1 spot in their on their depth chart, that's a lot of high praise out of Minnesota. To expect Dalvin Cook to have a big game, especially against the poor Saints defense. And up in down in New Orleans, that running back situation that's a 3-headed monster. You got Adrian Peterson, Mark Ingram, and rookie from Tennessee, Alvin Kamara.
Forgot about him.
Those 3 backs. I don't like having a backfield where it's the timeshare, and there's all 3 of them are going to be getting the ball. I don't know. I stay away. I don't want to start any of them.
Come to think about it, there's a lot of teams around the NFL like that, especially for fantasy, where if you have the starting running back, you might not be getting the most points. I mean, you look at Tennessee that's got DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. Look for Derrick Henry to get more touches this year. You have Jonathan Stewart and Christian McCaffrey and Fozzie Whitaker and Cameron Artis-Payne.
And it just leaves you the question, who am I playing this
Exactly.
week?
And then you got, like we said, the Saints and the Vikings. You never know with all these kind of running back battles, it's hard it's hard to see who in this first week is going to get, the most touches throughout the season. So look for those. I'd say, if you do have DeMarco Murray, I'd get if Derrick Henry's, I'm assuming he'd be drafted.
Handcuff with Derrick Henry.
Definitely.
For sure.
If Christian McCaffrey hasn't been drafted yet for some reason, pick him up as fast as you can. Yeah. There's just a lot of them like that where it's an interesting league. It's an interesting fact that there's that many teams that have these running backs.
And there's certain backfields where there's one guy and he's the guy, he's the workhorse, and there guys like David Johnson in Arizona, guys like Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh, and Todd Gurley for the Los Angeles Rams. I think that game against the Indianapolis Colts, I'm expecting Todd Gurley to have a huge year 3 in the NFL and a big fantasy season this year.
Going off of that, I think there's some other players that, are going to be able to come back this year. I mean, I think that obviously, he retired, but Marshawn Lynch, look to him, to make an impact on that team.
Of course.
I don't think that's something that a weapon they haven't really had. Latavius Murray is not a bad running back, but I think it's something that they've lacked. Another player that I think could bounce back, Kelvin Benjamin, had a lackluster year last year, and I think that he was the number 1 target last year. I just don't think that the way they worked their offense, they didn't work him back in the way they should have, coming off of his injury. So I think that he'll be back up to snuff.
I think any Panthers fantasy player this week, especially going up against the San Francisco 49ers, is going to have a big week, and I think that you should start and play any Panther that you have on your team.